Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped, back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're breaking down the new KIZUNA clash that will be coming over on OPTC against 6+ BLACKBEARD. Yes, that does mean that there is no free-to-play character for this particular KIZUNA. It is what it is. Unfortunately, it seems to be them taking this sort of trend with free-to-play characters being super boss KIZUNA characters, and the regular KIZUNAs tend to be the 6+. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this myself, mainly because it means that we just lose a free-to-play character. The one big thing about OPTC that I've always enjoyed is that free-to-play characters have a lot of use in stuff like treasure maps, in other stuff like KIZUNAs, and they are very, very powerful characters. Now, this does not mean that they will continue this trend moving forward. They have a tendency to do this right after a super boss KIZUNA. They did it with Shiki, they did it with Aokiji, and I'm pretty sure they did it with Akainu as well. I can't exactly remember. Let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong there, but hopefully they change that up. And if Bando, if you're watching this, please change it up. Give us a free-to-play character to farm. Could have easily done any of the Marines, because this whole KIZUNA is very heavily based around the Sengoku batch and all that sort of stuff, and the sort of Marines being X-Drake and Kobe. But in today's video, I have a bunch of Marco teams for you guys to help you farm as many assists as possible. You really want to stay on top of your assists when it comes to this type of KIZUNA, because you don't want to be using potions. So, the suicide strat, shout out to Captain Papi, is the way to go when it comes to these types of events. You really want to just take a friend Captain Drake. Hopefully you didn't do any summons on this banner. Take a friend Captain Drake, jump in with any team. It doesn't matter what team it is, as long as you bring a friend Captain Drake. If you did summon Drake or Kobe, put them on the team anywhere and then jump in. And then all you need to do is click the button in the top right hand corner, leave the quest, and request to be assisted by your crewmates in your alliance or people on your friends list. That way they can do this. Every 15 minutes they can do an assist, and you can get to box 7 without spending any potions. I need to make that very clear. You do not want to spend potions here. I don't care how big of a whale you are. Do not spend potions here. Save them for Super Boss KIZUNA. But as I mentioned, we have Marco teams to help you guys with those assists, get as much XP as possible, because Marco gives a lot of XP. I've got 3 teams for each variation. We're going to break down each variation, as well as a 1 Marco team versus all, with a friend Captain X-Drake for you guys, if you guys sort of just want to like jump in and actually just play the game and don't want to be doing the suicide strat anyway. But if you enjoyed the video, belt the like button for me. If you are new to the channel, you haven't done so already, like 50% of you guys, I see you guys. Hit the subscribe button for me. It helps me out a great deal. Enjoy the video, and let's take a look at KIZUNA Clash BLACKBEARD. Alright, so straight away, huge shout out to the OPTC Twitter. They did post this infograph yesterday. You guys know where to find them. I'll leave the link in the description for you guys. Anyway, well, I'll try to remember. But it's over there live on their Twitter page. So you can get this breakdown and you can check out what BLACKBEARD actually does. On Battle 1, we have the Int variation 10-star. Battle 2, we have the Psi variation. And then Battle 3, we have the Strength variation. So, Int, Psi, Strength, they're the colors. However, on the Int variation, it could be Dex. And on the Psi variation, it could be Quick. And this is what I mean when they say they really wanted the Sengoku batch to shine here. Because Sengoku, you bring one of every color. And you can just give the attack buff to like whichever Sengoku character needs that buff to take down this particular fight. And that way you should just bring the rest of the Admirals and you kind of Gucci from there. However, they don't actually fit the requirements for X-Drake. And X-Drake and Kobe are obviously really, really good for this fight. So, let's break down the Int variation first. And then let's take a look at the team. So, the Int variation on stage 1, Powerhouse Fighter and Slasher characters get their cooldowns. Great for Marco. Battle 2, you get 5 turns of attack down. And when you defeat stage 2, your captain gets blown away for 4 turns. So, you really want to do a captain swap somehow. Again, very reminiscent of the Sengoku batch. The boss, BLACKBEARD himself, has 99 turns of full immunity. He can either turn into a Dex unit or he stays as an Int character. He puts up 5 turns of damage reduction. And then he binds your top right, middle left, bottom right for 6 turns, which will go down to 3 after sockets. And then after level 30, he gives you 5 turns of paralysis, your top right, middle left. And then it says bottom right, which I'm assuming, yeah, so top right, middle left, bottom right turns into plus 2 turns of extra bind. So the bind becomes 8 turns, which becomes 5 turns after sockets, and it becomes a little bit annoying. However, the team I put together, utilizing double Marco, looks like, that's not it. It looks a little bit like this. We are running double Marco as our captains, Because Marco gets cooldowns on this fight too, you can actually pop his superclass on turn 1, so that way you get the auto trigger on turn 2, which is very, very nice. Marco is an absolutely phenomenal powerhouse captain as well as a fighter captain, but if you build the team around fighters, you actually get access to the superclass. So if you are doing some shenanigans with Marco and X-Drake, just be mindful that you do need to fill the rest of the team out with fighters. Marco, he's basically going to be our attack booster. He's also going to be our, what's it called? Our chain booster as well, because we actually get the auto trigger on turn 2, as well as him doing some healing shenanigans there. But he's basically our attack booster, he's our captain, and as you guys know, he gives you a lot of extra XP, which is very, very nice. He also makes in-orbs beneficial, which is very, very handy to have. Next, we've got Koala. Koala is actually the character that he's going to get around the, what's it called? The attack down on stage 2. She removes 5 turns attack down, but she also gives cerebral and fighter characters a 1.75 times color affinity boost. Now remember, you're going to have Marco's attack boost here as well, so hopefully you can hit the 3 perfects to get the color affinity moving into the next stage. If you can't, we might have to look at a different option for Koala, but she's just great because she's going to give us some sort of buff for the final stage, as well as removing the attack down on stage 2. Next, we've got Orobi. Now, this Orobi is so good for this fight. However, she's a little bit outdated in the sense that she only removes 3 turns of everything. She removes the bind by 3 turns, she removes the paralysis by 3 turns, and she can also remove damage reduction and threshold by 3 turns. However, when it comes to KIZUNA nowadays, it's normally like 6 turns of everything. This one is 5 for whatever reason that is, but she can only remove basically like 3 turns of it all. And if you guys remember, looking at what the Blackbeard actually does, he does 5 turns of bind, 5 turns of paralysis, and 5 turns of damage reduction. So this Orobi is only going to remove 3 of them, so we are going to need some supports to help her out a little bit. For that, we actually have the Bardo support on her, which works out very nicely to get around the paralysis, super nicely. And then we also have the Ace support on our Marco to remove 2 more turns of damage reduction. So that works out very, very nicely. On stage 2, though, you do have that very annoying captain blow-away mechanic. Now, for this team, I'm running Akainu. Akainu's a fighter. He works very, very nicely. But another really good option is the Germa 66. They will definitely work really, really great. You could also use something like Carrot for your captain swap shenanigans. Any character that becomes captain will get blown away at the end of that turn. Not even if they're a 1-turn, like, captain swap. Because you don't actually go into the next stage, you don't really have to worry about getting blown away. So that works very, very nicely with our boy Akainu here. He's also going to actually give us a conditional boost too. So stage 2 is going to get absolutely obliterated. Maybe like not using Marco's auto trigger might be the way to go, but like you really want to have Marco's special available. Otherwise, you're not going to get the chain boost on the final stage. To wrap it up on the final stage, we actually have Law. Law's a Psy character, so he actually gets boosted under Marco, plus slashes get boosted on this stage as well, so he actually gets the full cooldowns. He's going to be our orb booster, he's going to be our orb manipulator, and he's a chain boundary unit, because our captain is the primary and secondary class as well. Plus, he can use Corazon. Corazon's going to get around the rest of the bind for us. He can also get around 2 turns of the paralysis, which is great. So if you really wanted to, you could probably replace Orobi on this team. Actually, you can replace Orobi on this team, because... oh no, you got to get around the bind, right? If there's another character that can get around bind and damage reduction, I guess you could probably put them on. However, you do have the paralysis shenanigans you have to be worried about as well. So that's the team. It's looking pretty schmick. I guess if there's too much damage on stage 2, we could also we could easily look at replacing Koala with something like Robin and Jinbei to get around the attack down. Use the Bardo support on them, and then use someone to remove the bind and the damage reduction on that stage, because you only really need like 3 turns of it. You'll need a support for paralysis. But this is the team that I'm going to try it out when KIZUNA comes around, so be ready for the playthrough video. Alright, the next fight is the Psy variation, and again, Powerhouse, Fighters, and now Cerebrals get their cooldowns. On stage 2, there's 5 turns of defense up, and when you defeat the enemy, your captain gets swapped to your bottom row. So the bottom row will get swapped. You can manipulate this and just use a really, really good captain in your bottom row that also helps your team out. Like, that is definitely an option for you guys. But you can also use someone to get the captain swap to get around that as well. On the final stage, there's poison immunity and defense down immunity. There's a type change to either quick or stays as Psy. 5 turns of paralysis, and 5 turns of threshold. When you hit level 30, the damage reduction will kick in for 5 turns, and there's 2 turns of attack down. So, a little bit of annoying shenanigans, but not too hard to get around. The team looks like this when we are using double Marco. Marco, again, he's our attack booster, he's our chain booster, he's our captain. He works super nicely. Robin and Jinbei, are awesome here because they can use the Bardo support, which gets around paralysis, and then you can actually use the Rayleigh support on Luffy to get around paralysis as well, and that way you are pretty Gucci. On turn 2, you do have that annoying captain swap mechanic, and utilizing our boy Akainu once again not only removes the 5 turns of defense up, but he then becomes the captain, and then you don't have to worry about the captain swap shenanigans. Again, German 66 is a great option here if you don't want to use if you wanted to use something else, or you could use something like the KIZUNA Clash Luffy, Carrot. Any of those characters work very, very nicely. On the final stage, there is the extra paralysis, which we get around with supports. There is the threshold and the attack down, which Robin and Jinbei can get around themselves. And then there is also, was that, actually, I think that was it, right? Yeah, that was it. There was the threshold and damage reduction and the attack down. Robin and Jinbei literally just get around everything on this stage. And they can obviously use the Bardo support, which works very, very nicely. They're also a base stat booster, which is super nice. And then finally, we can wrap it up with Luffy as our monstrous orb booster. You can honestly let him become captain as well, by putting him in the bottom row. But remember, it's any of your bottom row characters. So if it's like bottom right, and you can like reload the game, like he's going to be an absolute monster of a captain, because he can also be a free spirit superclass, and that way you have 2 superclasses going. Because remember, Marco can actually use his superclass on turn 1, so that way you get the auto trigger on the final stage 2, and then you can use his special on the final stage again because he gets cooldowns. With Chopper on this team, he is going to be our color affinity booster. Now he only boosts int and cerebral characters, but that's okay because we're basing our damage around the final shot being Robin and Jinbei. Now Robin and Jinbei are going to get that color affinity buff, and it doesn't matter what color you are of Robin and Jinbei, they are going to have type advantage, because when you switch with Robin and Jinbei, they're either an int character, which is good against Psy, and they're either a Dex character, which is good against Quick. So they're going to be our MVPs here. Unfortunately, we don't have like too much chain boundary shenanigans, but Chopper with the Vivi support as well is going to give like 60% resistance, or 50% when it's the Psy variation. So Luffy, whilst he has color affinity, he's not getting the color affinity buff. He's still going to hit very hard, but just giving all that extra damage to Robin and Jinbei on the final stage is going to be great. Like I said, if you really don't want to use a Kainu on stage 2, you don't really have to, because what you can do is, like, if you can just rely on either Luffy or Chopper becoming your captain. I think Chopper is just a cerebral captain though, right? I don't think he's a fighter captain. Yeah, he's not a fighter captain. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to probably do something like this. Because Robin and Jinbei, when they're in their dual form, like, they're a pretty decent fighter captain. Like, you can definitely get away with utilizing them as a captain. And then that way you could use a Kainu on the final stage and actually get the 2 times conditional boost. Because they're not immune to, what's it called? They're not immune to the burn. However, if you do that, you do need someone to get around the 1.75 times burn. You do need someone to get around the defense up, so like just utilizing a Kainu on stage 2 will be the better way to go, and then just rely on Robin and Jinbei to do all your back-ended damage. Alright, so the final variation is the strength variation. Quick, Dex, and Psy characters get their cooldowns, and this is the only stage where, stage 2, there is no captain swap shenanigans. They give you a 50% damage HP cut though, which is very annoying, and then puts up 5 turns of damage reduction, which is also a little bit annoying too. The boss has 99 turns of full immunity, 4 turns of defense up, 4 turns of attack down, and then after level 30, does a whole bunch of extra stuff. Gives 5 turns of threshold, an extra turn of defense up, making it 5 turns, an extra turn of attack down, which makes it 5 turns, and then when you defeat the Blackbeard, he does 80,000 damage. Now remember, you get a 50% HP cut here, so that could be a little challenging for most teams, but the new X-Ray can do some cheeky shenanigans and actually get around that with his special. But we are running double Marco, so it looks like this. Double Marco, you do need 5 fighters on the team to actually get his superclass. Problem with this team is we're not actually getting his superclass. It kind of just is what it is, because Marco gets cooldowns here, so you can easily just pop his special on turn 2, and that's going to work out super nice. Like, it's going to be a-okay. Unfortunately, without the superclass, you do restrict a lot of healing, and that's why we have Sanjin putting on this team, but I'll talk about that in a second. I'm not 100% sure how this team is going to operate fully, but we'll definitely see how it goes. So, with Marco as our captain, he's basically just going to be a really strong captain here. He doesn't have his superclass available, which kind of sucks. But you could definitely replace Croc with just a fighter that removes the damage reduction. Because on stage 2, you get a 50% HP cut, and then there's 5 turns of damage reduction. So with Croc, because you're at 50% HP, you can actually then utilize his special to give yourself 3 turns of a chain boundary, starting at 3.0, going to 40 times. So that's a big reason why I have him here. Plus, he can actually use the support of Mr. 1. Now, Mr. 1's going to remove 4 turns of damage reduction, which is awesome, and give us a chain boost. And then we can use Marco's special with the ace support to get around the rest of the damage reduction. That's going to give us the carryover of the chain boost, and is going to give us a 10k heal, which is super, super nice, right? 10k heal. Marco as a captain boosts HP by 1.4 times, which is a lot, by the way, as well as utilizing the whale sharks to get an extra 10k HP. So 80,000, whilst it is a lot, I think with this particular team, we will be absolutely fine to actually be, to get to. But if you need to, you could probably weasel in something like Marco's superclass. You could probably replace, Don Krieg and Jin down the bottom there as well. That is definitely an option for you guys. As a fighter character, I guess. But they're a very good orb booster, so there's also that. Don Krieg and Jin, literally, they're just here as our orb booster. There's no other reason they're here. I think they removed defense up. Do we need defense up removal, actually? Yeah, you need the 5 turns of defense up removal. That's actually why they're here. 5 turns of defense up removal is really, really good. Works out very, very nicely. Otherwise, you could probably use, a Kainu there. A Kainu's going to remove the 5 turns of defense up, and then you can actually get the burn conditional. Oh, wait, can you? Do you have one of every... Yeah, actually, I might do that. What the hell am I doing? Let's do this, right? Hang on. Hold up. Akainu's boosted, so even though he's not getting cooldowns on this particular stage through the regular cooldowns, he should still be ready to go by the final stage. And if you actually switch into Jinbei, yeah, you'll have one of every color here, so you'll get the guaranteed conditional boost no matter what. Now that's actually now we're cooking with gas, yo. And now we have the superclass. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we have the superclass, and we're good to go. This Akainu, man, is so good. I'm telling you, if you got 30 gems, just throw a discount at the PvP banner. He's so heavily boosted that he's just so good for this particular event. Robin and Jinbei, they can remove damage reduction, threshold, attack down, all of that good stuff. They're also a base stat booster, and for this team, they don't need Barto, which is great because we can use the support Brook. They get around the attack down for the 5 turns. And then... Oh, actually, no. We're going to use them on turn 2 to get around the percent damage. No, we're not. I'm talking smack. They are literally just here for the attack down. Wow, that was all over the shop. I apologize. They're just here for the attack down. They have the Brook support, which can give us the chain boosting shenanigans as well. And all of our damage for this particular team is relying on Sanji and Pudding. Sanji and Pudding have this Luffy support as well, so they get the extra 1.25 times stats. They're going to hit so damn hard that it's not even funny. We have a chain boost. We have an attack boost. The only thing I don't think we have here is actually an orb boost, right? Yeah, we don't have an orb boost. We might have to, look at weaseling an orb boost onto the team somehow. Alright, so I went back to the Don Krieg and Jin because the 2 times orb's better than the 1.75 conditional boost. They're not a fighter, but look, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe having the superclass and then... I don't know, let me know in the comment section below if you guys can think of anything. But, I'm just going to stick with the original team for now, but Akainu is another really good option there. So, Sanji Pudding there, a color friendly booster. We have the chain boundary. We have chain boost, we have attack boost, we have base stats. This team has got, everything in the wazoo, to be honest. So, a lot of really good shenanigans here. Should do a lot of damage, but I do have a 1-team versus all for you guys. If you guys are looking to utilize an X-Drake friend captain, you can run something like this. If you guys do want to actually do your runs and not do the suicide strat, I would highly recommend doing the suicide strat, but this team's going to work absolutely fine for majority of the fight. So we have bind removal with the Dogstorm and 3 Musketeers. The Dogstorm 3 Musketeers. They also give color affinity boost to a fighter and slashers. This whole team is fighter, but also either powerhouse or slasher related. Besides Robin and Jinbei. That way, X-Drake can actually boost everyone. Akainu, he gets around the captain swaps on turn... On the... What's it called? The int and psi variations. And then on the quick variation... He gets around the defense up, as well as being a conditional boost, because we have one of every color on this particular team as well. With this team here too, you want to make sure you swap Robin and Jimmy to the... No, look, it doesn't matter. Carrot's going to be our orb booster, as well as Wanda being able to help us with some orbs. We have Superclass with Marco, he's our attack booster and our chain booster, and then Robin and Jinbei can just basically get around all of the damage reduction, threshold, and attack down on the final stage with the Brook support. Also allowing us to get, I just realized I don't have paralysis removal. Wait, do you... Alright, so we replaced the Musketeers with Beppo, Sachi, and Penguin. They actually remove paralysis and bind, which is super nice. Akainu has the support of Kid now, which can get around some, give us some color affinity for X-Drake, so that way we can do a lot of damage. But That's the one team versus all. I don't really recommend doing that. Like, again, suicide strats is going to be the way to go. So that way you get the most ticket drops and stuff, and then utilizing these other teams against each individual fight with Marco is going to get you the most XP. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to belt the like button for me if you're new to the channel. Hit that big red subscribe button. Most importantly, though, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Later!